up or down. And in the meantime, I'm super curious to hear what's your mood when you need to be on camera, whether you're doing a workshop, you have to record a video of yourself. How do you feel about that? And all you have to do is hover over with your mouse or trackpad on minimap and stamp your choice.
I really wasn't caring, but I felt my eyes
let me know how you're
stuck out in the crowd.
Okay, we've got some very proper faces here. We've got also some very groovy, some groovy moves. That's cool. Justina and Stenya, nice. Oliver is like, hello. Judah, you're very proper, right? You're very like by the book. Although you're not, you're just like a very funny person. But when you're on camera, you're like, all right, nice, beautiful. Thanks for playing along. Oliver, where are you? Ah, yeah, I saw you. You're like the hi. Cool. So how comfortable are you on camera? Are you very uncomfortable or pretty much comfortable? I love this. I love being here. I love to be on camera.
What a mess we made so long ago. You were my love.
Okay, these are some great news. This is a great news for Dan, I guess, right, Dan? That we're more towards the uncomfortable side of the scale, right? And I guess that's why we're here today, for you to share a couple of tips and tricks. And so I'm going to kill the music, everyone. Keep on interacting with the flashcard. Welcome. My name is Anna Maria. I am leading the beautiful community at Butter, and very excited to have Dan with us today for a super awesome session. We are at Butter, and as facilitators, we're often on camera, and I guess we are all trying to kind of make a good impression and get better at that, because it's the way we've been communicating mainly in the past 2 years, and it doesn't seem to go away. So there we go. Here we are today. Before we move on, I want to mention that the session is being recorded. We're sharing it on YouTube. If you're uncomfortable with that part, keep your camera closed. You're going to find the left side of your screen all of the commands and all of the features. As a participant, feel free to use the react button as often as you want, and just show Dan if you agree with his points, and if you think what he's saying is interesting, that's going to keep him going to sharing more of his secrets. Give me a thumbs up if you know Butter, and give me a thumbs down if this is the first time you're ever in a Butter session. I think we have a couple of, okay, so we have someone that is new to Butter. Welcome to Butter. We hope that you're going to feel right at home. You've already discovered the reaction, and the chat is on the same side at the bottom. Feel free to introduce yourselves in the chat and tell us where are you tuning in from today. And I am going to continue welcoming Dan, and I'm super excited to hear what you have to share with us. And the story of today's event is really, it's actually quite funny, and it's something we haven't really done before. But Dan joined the Butter community 2 weeks ago. Dan, can that be something like that? 2-3 weeks ago?
One.
Yeah, 1 week ago. There we go. And he introduced himself, and he said, "Hey, I'm doing this thing. Like that's what I do. I help people, be presentable on camera and make a good first impression, and be professionals and so on." And I think it was Rachel who commented, or Monica. I think it was Monica. Like, "Oh, we need to have you like in one of the events." And then I saw the comment. I was, "Dan, we have an open spot." So this event was planned in a week, and that's the magic of community. And Dan is the founder of Video for Entrepreneurs. It is a brand that helps entrepreneurs learn to look and sound great on video. And the way he's doing that is through community-powered cohorts and powerful digital products and a private community membership that he is enabling. He's also the host of the Entrepreneur Show. So it's like the Antipreneur, a podcast, and also has a successful YouTube channel. Are you close to the $1 million prize that everyone gets? None?
No.
No, we're getting you there. And he has decades of experience in video production and video editing and motion graphics and sound design and graphic design and digital content development. So all the good stuff. And he's packed a couple of his most powerful tips and tricks for us today. And he is taking us through that presentation. So Don, thank you for jumping on board and accepting my invite to host today's event. Feel free to take it away. The floor is yours.
All right. Well, man, that was an incredible introduction. Thank you. I like to share some of the stuff I've done in the past with bigger brands and all that stuff, not to show off or gloat, but to say that's what's driven me to want to help entrepreneurs, because that work was fun, but not super fulfilling. And now I'm really focused on the work of helping entrepreneurs look and sound great on camera, because they can too. And that lets me kind of help entrepreneurs level the playing field a little bit. So that's what drives me as far as that information goes. All right. And also, as mentioned, I'm new to Butter. I've been on Zoom for years and years and years. And when this kind of came into my field of view, I was like, we need to check this out. Had a great demo. And I'm like, I'm all in, because I have an upcoming cohort course just a couple weeks here. And I wanted people to have more fun and be more engaged and not just be on another Zoom call. So forgive the looking around and clicking as I go. All right. I did a poll too, and you can give more than one answer. And it kind of goes with the goat thing. I like the goat thing. It gave us all an opportunity to relate to someone else's kind of personality. So feel free to put that in there.
Make sure that you hit submit answer after typing it in, otherwise it won't reach the other end. Pro tip, pro butter tip.
Love it, love it. Time consuming, man. Am I relating to that already? Wow. There's often times where the insecurity and excitement for me blend. I love creating content that I know is going to help people, and also very much an introvert, very much zapped by a lot of the work that I do. So I can definitely relate to some of these words that are coming in. All right. So I'll go ahead and move on from here. And I got a presentation. I move kind of fast. Most of this is to just kind of get you to maybe change your thinking a little bit, or the way that you look at video content. It's not necessarily that you have to take notes or anything. Plus, I think we're recording, so that's awesome. And I have a bunch of free assets for you available toward the end. So don't worry if you miss anything. And if it's okay with you, Anna Marie, if someone wants to interject during, please do. I'd rather answer a question than just give another slide. So do not feel bad if you're like, hey, Dan, hold on a minute. I got a question.
We also have time for Q&A at the end, but if there's something that really kind of picks your tongue, feel free to maybe use the queue, and this is giving us like a ping to let them know that it's time for questions. So feel free to do that as well. I'll pop them in the chat. I'm also going to surface them at the end.
And thank you for that. I feel like I have a co-pilot so I don't crash. Love it. So we will get the slides rolling. I'm not a huge slide person, so most of these are just kind of visuals and ideation kind of creation tools as we go. So again, I'll go through some things pretty fast. This was kind of introduced already. I've worked with some of the biggest brands in the world. Again, that's not to brag. It's to say I learned a lot doing that, and I want to bring that information to you guys. So what gets me up in the morning starts with coffee. Sometimes it's an energy drink. And community. I know community is kind of a buzz right now, but it means a lot to me because I grew up in an incredible community in Flint, Michigan, and I was surrounded by people that cared about my well-being and how I was navigating life, and community has always been important to me. So even though it's a digital thing and a lot of us are in communities like the Butter community, I think about it a little bit beyond that, and working with entrepreneurs to present well and get their ideas across and communicate effectively. That all kind of is facilitated by community. So today we're talking about the power of video, and there's a secret, and I'm curious what you guys think that secret might be. So I'll throw that up. No wrong answers. Ooh, planning. I like that one. Liking what I'm seeing. Very cool. All right, I threw a few minutes on here just so we had time to get some words in. Looks like we've got quite a few, so I'll go ahead and end this one. But I want to run through super quick. So, creating cool connections. I love that. Virtual background community, of course, stronger. Practicing planning and people. So, so good. So good. So, I think everyone's kind of right here. And the secret is the power of videos. Excuse me. Actually, not video at all. So I'm going to give you some ideas of what I think it is, but it really is more than about video. It's how we think about video, and a lot of you guys' answers correlate with that directly for sure. So a few of the things that you can do to keep in mind and make your videos impactful. And this is a little bit more on the technical side, and then we'll talk a little bit more about mindset and theory later. These are just some ideas to keep in mind as you create video. This is something I've thought about a lot. What is the difference between film and video? So if you think about a feature-length movie or a documentary versus maybe a talking head or a workshop or a Zoom call. And I spent a lot of time on this a few years back, just trying to make it easy for people to understand the difference. So we didn't think we were all trying to make Hollywood films when we create a video for our businesses. We could think about it a little bit differently. And every great film essentially is two people talking. So no matter the car chase, the explosion, the visual effects, any of that cool stuff in a movie, it really always comes down to conversation. And if a movie's got great dialogue and gives us heroes and villains to root for and to root against, that's what makes a great story as far as film is concerned. And that left me thinking, what's the difference then for video? And because video is more around the idea of a monologue as opposed to a dialogue, eliminating distractions is kind of what ended up surfacing for me. Apologies, trying to clear the old throat. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that. First topic is framing. I'm sure on all these Zoom calls that we've been on, we've seen versions of all these things. So the first one is getting your head cut off, and the second one is drowning. I always say that getting your head cut off and drowning are both terrible things, so let's try not to let those happen. Another one that people don't think about sometimes is being able to see a little bit too much in your shot. And this is getting a little bit technical, but a lot of times you can do this through digital zooming, zooming the camera if you're using a camera, or moving your laptop closer to you if it's a built-in type camera. And in this exact scene here, just moving in a little bit, we're able to eliminate some of those things that might steal our attention away from obviously the subject matter, which most of the time is going to be us. And that's just a little bit closer up of just a nice medium shot, medium close-up shot. And what we're kind of showing up on Zoom as most of the time in presentations and stuff like that. Pro tip, I like to encourage my clients and students to keep the actual literal lens at eye level if possible. Sometimes this could be as simple as putting a couple books under your laptop and just getting that little camera lens at the top to be eye level. I'm sure we've all been in some meetings where we're looking up someone's nose or down like they're tiny, and it can, again, just be a distraction. So this is a great example of sometimes, you got your space set up, you might just pop a laptop in front of you. It's got to be on the other side of the desk, and this is our look. And again, nothing changes about this next photo except our framing. And you can see it just feels a little more inviting. We got rid of a couple of the things that can tend to distract. So like this extra stuff here, this cup that's blurry, and we're like, what's in the cup? Maybe the shades up top. And just by zooming in a bit and framing nicely, we can eliminate some of those distractions and bring the attention back to center. So I got a poll for this. The majority of people are uncomfortable with some elements of creating video. What do you think the number one complaint about making video content is? And I'm going to bring up a poll here. Oops. Sorry, I'm going to replace that real quick. So I was just going to go through these quickly so people could kind of see a batch of some of the complaints that I get. So there's technology. What do I buy? Everyone says something different. Is a webcam enough? A lot of those conversations in my world come down to what is your goal? What is your budget? And what can we buy that's going to last you the longest? Appearance. I've been asked many times by many people if I can Photoshop the video after we're done. Visual effects are expensive, so I always say no. Lack of confidence. This can come in any form of life, right? Like presenting, going on a date, being on camera. Learning yet another new skill. This is something I talk about a lot with entrepreneurs and people who are running communities and events and facilitating things. We're doing so many things already. Do I really have to learn video now? Like that's a whole nother skill set I have to learn. The sound of their own voice. I'm sure someone somewhere has heard a voicemail they left and maybe cringed at that a little bit. Feeling like they're too late to the game. So I actually get this quite a bit in a lot of my conversations like, oh, video's been out for a minute. Everyone looks great. There's Netflix, there's YouTube, there's streamers. Like, oh, I'm too late to the game. Hint, hint, that's not true. And I'll go ahead and close that out here. All right, so we have technology, a couple of votes for the way they look, sound of your own voice, and fear of having to learn yet another skill set. All right, a couple more seconds if anyone didn't vote and wants to.
Again, I think you have to click on it and then send your answer. Yes.
Gotcha. All right. And then I'll just hit end now, right?
Yeah.
Okay. End the pool. All right. So the way they look and fear of having to learn another skill set. I will say, lately, if I look at the last 6 months of my work, having to learn another skill set is number 2 currently, as far as what I hear the most. And I'll go ahead and close that poll. Did we lose our slide?
And Oliver also brings the time factor in the chat. It's creating that video is really time consuming, and I guess we can all kind of nod and agree to that. So thumbs up, Oliver. Yes, painful.
Yeah. And a lot of the questions I get around tools. So there's a lot of software, there's a lot of shiny objects. We all know what it's like to have to ignore some of those, but some are helpful. And who do we trust and all those things? A lot of those do come around time and usage of time. So I would love to hit on that in the Q&A for sure. And the number one by miles and miles and miles is hating your own voice. Early on in my career, I started hearing this. I'm like, that's interesting. And then I started hearing it more. And I was like, oh, I never really thought. I was a singer in a band. We toured. We always had to record because people wanted to buy a CD back then. And I heard my own voice so much that, you know, I wasn't in love with it, but I didn't hate it. And so as I got more and more of this about 4 years ago, I'm like, I need to look into this so I have some answers for some people. And essentially what came to light is that there's science around this. And we do, a lot of us anyway, see ourselves in the mirror, even if it's in passing or just brushing your teeth or whatever. So you do have a familiarity with your own image flipped. So when you see yourself on camera, that's kind of what you're seeing is a mirror. But hardly any of us ever hear our voice recorded and played back. So there's just a component of the brain that has unfamiliarity. And we all know how the human condition is with things that are either change or unfamiliar. It's like, okay, hold on, be cautious, process this. This is different. I don't know if I like this. And by far, people not liking their own voice is the number one complaint that I get. And my approach is never, hey, just get over it. It's okay. There's kind of one way to familiarize yourself with hearing your own voice, and that's to get the repetitions and to practice. And a lot of the work that I do is facilitating a safe place for people to practice video before they release it out to the world. I'll talk quickly about mics. There's a million brands out there. If anyone ever has questions, I'm available for free anytime if you're looking at buying something. Lots of different kinds and different price ranges. I just wanted to talk about the main two types, and that's about as far as I'm going to go today. So, on the left, we have the Blue Yeti. Many people know about it. The brand doesn't matter. The fact that it's a condenser microphone is what I want to hit on today. And many of the mics that are available for podcasting or just recording video and those sorts of things are condenser microphones. The beautiful part about a condenser mic is that it picks up the nuances of your voice, so the resonance in your chest, the kind of tones and sounds of your voice. The bad news is it also picks up the resonance of everything else around you. So before I lived here, I had a smaller room that I did production in, and there was furniture, carpet, lots of stuff all around. And I was able to use a condenser mic there because the sound was kind of dampened in that room. The mic on the right is called a dynamic microphone. It's actually the one I'm using right now, a Samson, and it's more directional and it tries to kick out the things that are off to the side. So the trade off is I sound a little bit more like I'm on the radio as opposed to maybe what my voice sounds like in real life with some more resonance and some more clarity. But you can't hear the garbage trucks and the airplanes flying over and all those fun things. So we actually loop all the way back around here to eliminating distractions. Audio is king. I'll die on that hill. But also, if I can hear you well and if I'm not hearing other things, you're eliminating distractions and you're making better video. And so these are things that I fight against every single day, which is why I'm currently using a dynamic microphone close to my mouth so you can't hear the fridge running and the airplanes flying over. And I'm going to give a quick demonstration. This is my first time in Butter, so we'll see if this works. I hope that it does. And I'm going to try and go quickly to my own settings. You know, we didn't run through this during our kind of dry run. So,
I know this is new, Dan. You're pulling this out
yeah,
of your hat.
I
So
know.
surprising. I'm joking. It's going to be fine.
All right. So I'm going to switch to my system microphone instead of the one I'm using here, just so you can hear a difference. So I'll go ahead and do that now. And what you should be hearing now is the actual system microphone. So you'll hear the room, you'll hear a degradation in quality. I could have a call this way, right? And someone could be able to hear me and understand what I'm saying. But all of a sudden, it's different. And now, especially if
That's so crazy.
or headphones. Now I'm back in your ear. I'm kind of the center of attention. I'm able to draw attention back in, and $130 did it. So I'm not saying 130 is cheap, but having a great microphone at your disposal is a really powerful thing. All right, so I'm going to share now a little less technical and a little more the kind of ideas around how we think about video. And I call these my greatest hits because it's like the light bulb moments I've been able to get people to have in the corporate world and the entrepreneurial world, working with small teams. All these things are just to kind of help us think a little bit differently about video. And that is the most powerful part about video, how we think about it, how we utilize it. It's not just the camera, the light, the mic. It's what do we do after we're looking and sounding good? How do we present and what's the impact we're going to make? So, topping the charts since 2014, when I kind of came up with this analogy that I like to share with people, is the medicine in the cheese. So, I think we all have a version of this in our businesses. So, the veterinarian says, get your dog to take this pill. The dog's like, no way. The vet says, hide it in some cheese or a little glop of peanut butter. All of a sudden, the dog takes the pill. For many years in my work, the medicine in the cheese has been story. So, really, at the core of everything I do is story development. And for many years, I feel like I've been tricking entrepreneurs into telling better story because they're very hung up on a lot of things we talked about, the framing, the microphone, the lights. This is a lot of tech and there's a lot to deal with. And I try and get them through that as fast as possible so we can work on the deeper things. And that's kind of my way of like preparation, storytelling, the way we distribute our videos. That's actually where the power is. And currently, I'm trying to get to the part of going from a deli to a pharmacist. I want, with my current work, to just give the medicine. I really want to get to the point where I can get people there as fast as possible. The three stages of trust, again, these are just things I made up through observation and gave them a little analogy so they're easier to kind of wrap your mind around. I think this is as close as I get to saying that video is kind of magic. And these things hold pretty true, so you can almost 100% rely on them. And the first one is know, like, and trust. We've heard this a million times. We're all after it. We're trying to figure out how to build relationships with our potential clients and, of course, the clients that we have. And this can actually happen through a screen on a phone in another country. I always like to picture someone like in their bedroom with a TV on the wall and Cheeto dust on their hoodie as they're snacking and watching my video on a phone. It can be a very intimate thing. You can end up somewhere you'd never be in real life, sharing your information, your value with someone because you made a video and now they can consume it at any point that they see fit. So you can start to build that. "Oh, I kind of know you a little bit. I've seen some of your videos. I like your videos. I've seen some other people talk about how you've helped them. I'm starting to trust you a little bit." Like all of these things can happen without you ever meeting someone. The next is something I've just kind of called micro fame. It's this very interesting thing that if you create video, especially if that video is pretty good, and I don't just mean looks and sounds good, I mean you're presenting well, you're giving value, you're making an impact, and someone sees you on a screen, it just subconsciously elevates you above other humans. There's just this kind of like interesting thing that happens with humans where they're like, "Oh, I've seen your YouTube videos." And it happens to me every week. I get on my free strategy calls, which at the end you guys all have access to, by the way, if you ever want one. And I've had some people get on those calls and like, "I can't believe I'm on a call with you." And it's just because they've seen videos of me educating and helping and those sorts of things. So it's awkward and weird and fun and kind of cool that this can happen. And then the last I just call seal the deal. I mentioned quickly earlier, I fronted a band, I sang and played guitar, and we toured all over the place. And we got to play with some bands that I looked up to when I was younger before I started playing. And I'm sure you've all heard, never meet your heroes. That definitely happened a couple times where we're actually backstage getting ready to play. I'm opening for this band I've always admired, and the guys in the band aren't that great and they're not that nice. And it's like, oh, so the opposite is possible here. They're getting to know you, they're getting to like you, maybe they even trust you. There's this little bit of you're an authority in your field, that micro fame thing's kind of happening. And then when you do have the coffee or the Zoom call or the discovery call or the strategy call, and you are the way you were in your videos, everything locks into place. You seal the deal as far as that know, like, and trust, at least the first level of know, like, and trust. Because there's this almost like relief that happens when I saw your videos, you seem to know what you're doing. I kind of like you. I get on a call with you and oh, thank God you're actually nice and you're like you are in your videos. Super, super powerful thing. So these are kind of the three stages of trust that can happen through having great video content out there. I'm going to run through these quick. I like to think about video in business, obviously, as a marketing tool. It can be used a lot of different ways, but definitely that's something that a lot of us are thinking about. How do we make video? How do I make people aware of me? And what's that video going to lead to? So these are some of my kind of metaphoric vehicles of marketing. So first you have text, tried and true, been around forever. Think of like the explosion of blogs, 15, 20 years ago, articles, email newsletters, long form social posts. I think of text as this like military supply truck. It's got one job. It just needs to get the story or the information from point A to point B. And that's it. And you think about those big trucks just kind of lumbering about with a couple guards on the back, keeping everything inside safe. Text is kind of the tried and true way to get your message across. Audio, I think of like a street bike. So if you imagine one of these motorcycles in traffic on the highway, it's just going to go in between cars around the shoulder and get off the next exit. So audio is able to get into places that other vehicles can't. Podcast, audiobooks, recorded messaging. Think about you can listen to a podcast in the shower while you're at the gym during your commute. And so audio is this interesting thing now getting in places where other marketing materials can't. You have graphics, of course. I think of a Ferrari. Graphics are fast. You look at an image and you get a story like right now. Promo images, Facebook ads, memes, and of course, cats. Everyone loves cats. Even if you don't love cats, for some reason, we still stop on those videos and those photos. And then I spent a long time thinking about what is video then? And I really did. I spent months trying to come up with like the perfect vehicle. So I thought this would be another fun part to just kind of throw at you guys and see what vehicle you think. video might be.
It's not an easy one. Damn.
I like Rocket. Both. So far, so good. I'm liking them. Sailboat. Interesting. Oh, a drone. I love it. Oh, I never thought of that as being a vehicle. That's a good one.
I bet you're changing this in the next presentation.
Like,
Second drone.
now it's a rocket drone. Any last ones before I end the poll? I'm liking these a lot. Give it just a couple more seconds. I'm learning so much from these responses throughout the presentation too, because I love thinking or seeing how other people think. All right, I will end that now. End the poll, close the poll. And again, no exaggeration, I thought about this for months and I came up with a lot of my own answers before I settled on something. And then one day it just kind of popped into my head. A hovercraft. It's the most versatile medium of marketing in the world. It can go on water, ice, rocks, concrete. The big ones can go over almost any terrain. And so I just thought about the versatility of video. I might just have to put some rocket packs on the hovercraft because I love the rocket comment. But you think about things like YouTube, pillar content, where you make one video and you're able to turn it into all kinds of other content. Courses, of course, the video modules and things like that. Online ads, if you run ads, video can be really powerful there. And pro tip about me videos, if you don't have one and you do have a website, even if you just shoot something simple and quick and 60 seconds long, which I'm sharing an assets page with you later that has a video on how to make a great 60-second about me video. I've talked with some really large SEO companies who have been like on my podcast and stuff like that. And they say that the number 3 thing out of all of web, like keeping people on your site, the actual bounce rate and stuff like that. The third biggest thing that keeps people on the website is an about me video. And it doesn't have to be incredible or amazing. It just has to exist. So I've put a lot of, thought into that sense, kind of developing this as well. And again, it's just kind of a versatile. Yeah, I just think about it as just hop in it and go wherever you need to go. So this is a storytelling element that I rely on heavily. I think it's one of the most powerful things about kind of typical storytelling. A lot of times we think about fiction when we think about story, and this is used in many, novels, video games, films, all that stuff. And I think the business owners and entrepreneurs and creators shy away from this a little bit. I like to call it like the elephant in the room, the dirt under the rug. Not everything we have to, that we create has to be jarring or 180 degrees away from the typical. But doing that every once in a while is really powerful. And if you have a strong stance, a strong opinion, I think a lot of times it's great to lead with conflict, just like they do in great movies, because it gives someone something to root for. So I always think about these commercials. I don't know if anyone's ever seen a Lincoln Navigator commercial with Matthew McConaughey in it, but oftentimes those commercials end and I'm like, what did I just see? I don't even understand what that commercial was about. They're just a little weird, they remind me of cologne commercials. Nothing wrong with it. Do your marketing, that works. And then I watch Subaru commercials, and because they're so big on safety and those sorts of things, a lot of times they will actually lead with conflict. And excuse me, the last Subaru Outback commercial that I saw, it's about a year ago now. Dad's in the driveway. He's washing the car. He's kind of rinsing it off with a hose. He starts to daydream a little bit, and all of a sudden, the water on the ground running from the hose is actually coolant leaking from the engine of a crashed car. And then as it comes back, there's smoke. The car's crinkled. All of this like carnage is sitting in front of him as he kind of daydreams. And then his little daughter comes out of the garage, "Daddy, Daddy," and he kind of snaps out of it. And he's like, "Oh, get over here," and he's rinsing off the car, and it's back to the new Subaru. And essentially, the whole commercial was daughter can run out of the garage because we all survived in that crash. And I love that Subaru doesn't shy away from the fact that the number one thing we don't want to think about in a car is crashing, but they're so big on safety that they lead with conflict and they're not afraid to do that. Now, Lincoln sells a ton of navigators, so their way is working. It's not that one's better. I just think we shy away from leading with conflict a little bit too much. Another thing, I just a little analogy I love to keep in mind as I think about video is a cocktail. And so I don't know if anyone's ever had a screwdriver before, but that's kind of my analogy and the way I think about it. Oh, shoot, that's the wrong slide. Not that screwdriver. There we go. So if you think about a screwdriver, half orange juice, half vodka, you take a drink. For some people, that could be too much juice. For most people, that could be too much vodka. And so you have to make that first drink. You have to make video. You have to get your messaging in line. You have to put a strategy behind what you're doing, but it's never going to be perfect, right? So you got to make that first drink. Then when you make your next one, if that was too much vodka, maybe now it's 75% juice, 25% vodka, we'll taste again. So a lot of the work that I do with my clients and my members is really finding where they are on that spectrum. I get asked the question almost weekly, "Hey Dan, I've heard just ship it, better done than perfect. Let's just get the video out." I've heard people say just make your first 100 videos because they'll be bad and then you'll get good. But also, this is my brand and this is my face and this is my product that I'm proud of. Shouldn't I polish it and kind of make it perfect? Which one should I do, Dan? And I always say yes. And they hate that answer, but it's the truth. And it's because there is no right answer for anyone. And sometimes getting away from perfectionism and leaning a little bit towards just getting the thing done is the right answer. But if you go past that to the other end of the spectrum of just put stuff out because I'm practicing, that might be a bad look for your business. So I like to think about it like a cocktail. And feel free to replace the screwdriver with your drink of choice. This is something else I would love to share with people after the workshop. So I'm going to go quickly through this. And if anyone ever wants to dive into this outside of this workshop, it's something I've developed to help people with strategy, which is, I think, the number one thing that's missing for entrepreneurs and creative folks online is no one is out there, and I'm trying to be this person. No one's out there saying, hey, the reason that the equipment you buy and the way that you present and make videos and all those things is kind of foreign and way out there is because no one is stating that we need a strategy for video. And most of that, just like in filmmaking, happens before you ever hit record. So this is a framework that I've come up with just to help people start to wrap their minds around how they can present video and how they can create the ideas in the first place. So at the center of your solar system is the sun. You can substitute North Star here if you want. And this is your big idea, the thing that you never, ever deviate from. Now, it doesn't mean that we have to make videos about this topic, and it doesn't mean that everything has to have this in it, but it's I'm never going to deviate from this idea. So in my world, it's when someone asks me what I do, I say I help entrepreneurs learn how to look and sound great on camera. That's my big idea. That's my sun. So no matter what kind of content I create around that, I never want to deviate from that one big idea. Next, we have planets. I always say if people are starting off with video, I wouldn't have more than 3. And a lot of people call these buckets or themes. So my 3 planets are presentation, storytelling, and strategy. So those are the things that I make content about to help entrepreneurs make better videos and look and sound better on camera eventually. And then around those, of course, we have moons that circle our planets. And the planets are more like kind of, in my world, the timing's different for everyone. In my world, my in-depth content is kind of an 8 to 12 minute piece. I go deeper than other people go on the topic. I make it all about entrepreneurs. I don't aim at videographers and video production company owners and streamers and that. I focus on entrepreneurs. And generally, they're a little bit tutorial-ish or educational or a deeper dive into a singular subject like strategy or storytelling. And then the moons that surround those planets are what I call punchy content. Again, in my world, it's 3 to 5 minutes, straight to the point. 5 ways you can look more confident on camera starting now for free. Those sorts of videos where it's like you can just get in, get the information, and get out. Floating around the solar system, hopefully not aimlessly, are satellites. And this is what I'm thinking of as awareness content. And currently, awareness content, a lot of it is short form content. So your TikTok, your Instagram Reels, your YouTube Shorts, a lot of it's vertical content as well. And a lot of people are trying to like use the algorithm that's very giving right now on those platforms to like get a bunch of attention, but they don't know what to do with it when they have it. And then sometimes things go viral and you're not ready for it to. So there's not a next step. So I like to focus on awareness content as literally that, just making people aware that you exist. That's the thing. And as we're going out, your audience are kind of meteorites flying by, which might be the thing that feels that first gravitational pull. So that's what all this is about for me, is thinking about how someone's journey might go. They might see a awareness content on TikTok, want to see the full video, so they go to YouTube, they watch your punchy content. You're super smart and you built all this ahead of time. So at the end of the punchy content is, if you like this, I got 2 more videos in a playlist on this topic if you want to dive deeper. They go to the playlist and they see at the top of the playlist is your planet content, your longer video. And they're like, oh man, I can binge these and then deep dive with you. That's great. And none of those things ever deviate from your big idea, which also makes it possible for people to kind of know what's next instead of discovering you and being like, do I email you? Do I get on your newsletter? What do I do next? We have all those things in place already. And hopefully someone can feel the gravity. And after 2 or 3 times, they get pulled in, and then they can go to the next thing and the next thing and end up where you want them to be. And it's just a really kind of elegant way to make sure everything's in place just in case someone comes into your solar system. And the last thing is mindset matters. That's mostly what we've been talking about for the last 15, 20 minutes of this. This is a literal representation of the work that I do. And so, super quick, technical is 5%. That's the equipment that you use and maybe the software that you use. Strategy is 5%. Solar system methodology there. Distribution is about 5%. And that's, where's the video going? What platform did we make the video for, that platform? And what's it going to do for us once it's there? And 85% is mindset. And this is all very true. 85% of the work I do is getting entrepreneurs to give themselves permission to be great on camera, because they're already awesome. I'm not there to write their story, I'm just there to capture it. So that's the way that I think about those things. We're going to throw some stuff in the chat so you'll have all the links. But just want to let you guys know the Butter family has 30-minute free strategy calls anytime you want. We can talk about your thoughts on video, what you're currently doing, or maybe even just give some information from an outside point of view for someone who's been doing it a long time. And again, in the chat are those links. If you want the slides from today, that is also in the chat. And I was given permission to talk about my upcoming cohort, which is so exciting. I've educated in many, many different ways, but I've never taken a group of people through time. So I'm really excited about this first cohort. And because it's a pilot cohort, it's drastically reduced in price. And then Butter let me give a discount to you guys. So very wholeheartedly, no one else anywhere is getting a discount on this because it's already a reduced price for the pilot cohort. But I've been so welcomed by Butter. I've been just given this opportunity, which is incredible. They understand that I'm trying to take people in my cohort through an experience, not just lectures. So being able to use Butter instead of Zoom for my upcoming cohort, it has me super excited. So Butter fam, all one word, is a coupon code if you happen to visit the cohort and maybe want to go through it with me. It's 4 weeks of transformation, and the rest of the information's on the sales page. So thanks for letting me share that. And Q&A. Hopefully you guys have been saving up some juicy questions. Cool.
All right, Dan, you're spotlighted. I'm left with a lot of questions, so I can shoot, but I won't, because I'm going to give first the opportunity to everyone else in the room to kind of pop them questions. And feel free to just queue up and unmute and ask Dan your question directly. And if you cannot talk, feel free to use the chat, and I'll surface that for you and read it out loud.
Yeah. Don't be shy, and anything goes, even if it's on the fringes of video or just about marketing in general and my thoughts on it.
Julia, you're up. Hey.
Yeah, thanks, Dan. It's really, and I mean, I really enjoy your sharing. So, just out of my curiosity, I'm really I mean, keen to learn from you, like, because now that your field is quite specific and niche in a way as well, really into video. I'm curious about your story. I like how at least the moments that you suddenly think that, oh, okay, I need to do video and I need to teach people to look great and unleash their potential in video.
Yeah, that is such a good question. It makes me smile. So I mentioned quickly earlier, I was in a band. We toured a lot, and I didn't know what the word entrepreneur was at the time, but I was running the band. So I was managing it, booking our tours, designing and printing all the merchandise, building the website. Essentially, because we weren't on a record label, I was doing everything I could to keep everything in house with my own skill set so we could just kind of stay even and put gas in the van to go to the next show. And so that was kind of my first taste of what entrepreneurship was, even though I didn't know that word at the time. I knew that we were kind of like a small business. And the last thing that we ever did, and this will date me a little bit, was make a CD DVD combo. I wanted to make sure that our last record had some video in it, and it was important. I was not in video at the time. And the very last project we did was shooting a narrative music video. So having actors in and shooting full scenes. And at the end of that project, it turned out so well. I had already been designing for years and kind of helping other bands tell their story and stuff. That's when it locked in that video is this powerful medium where you can tell a story, in my opinion, better than you can anywhere else. There's obviously incredible writers out there who could do a better job, but that's where I caught the bug for video. And so as I progressed forward, I realized that local and regional bands is a very small market, and bands are known for not having budgets. So how do I start to leverage this and use it more as maybe part of my living? So that's when I started working as kind of an outside contractor with a production company, and I started doing more corporate work. And then I broke off on my own, and I continued that work. And some of those logos that you saw at the beginning, Harley Davidson and Camaro, and some of those people were some of my bigger jobs during that time. And I'm from Flint, Michigan originally, which is a poor city. And I would go and fly and do this job for this big company and have all this fun, and then come home and go, no one here can afford me. I need to help people in my own backyard. How do I do that? And that's where the kind of facilitation of video for entrepreneurs came from is, okay, what if I can help them create their own videos? I can still be here for support and education and even editing if they need that part. But I can get the gap between someone having a great idea and comfortably hitting record as small as possible. And that looks a lot of different ways in my world, but sometimes it's helping someone set up their home studio or their office studio so they really can just like sit down, hit record, make a great piece of content and not lose that great idea. Or if they're creating content consistently for a reason, content marketing, YouTube, whatever it might be, it's easier now than it would have been if they didn't have this setup and didn't have, some of the knowledge I share. So that's the short version of how video kind of popped into my life. And I was like, wow, this is powerful. I think I could do something here.
It's very indeed. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah, great question. Thank you.
All right, we still got 10 minutes to pick Dan's brain. Is this still usable? Like, are we still allowed to say to pick people's brains?
I hope so.
Oliver.
Yeah, hi. Thanks for the good presentation. I have no clue if you've ever done this, but I would like to know how would you deal with like the downsides of video? And for me, one of the downsides of video is if you do like explanatory videos for training, let's say software, it's very powerful because you get a lot of information in one video and you don't need like 1,000 slides. But then in that one moment where you want to do it on your screen, that person might already be quicker in the video and you're lost, like, where are you? Have you any ideas on that one? Have you experience with how to deal with that?
So are you saying that another creator might make that video before you do? Is that what you meant by?
What I mean is if you use video not for selling, but for training. And what you want to train is like something like software. So you want to train somebody who has to click a lot of clicks in, let's say, Excel. And maybe in your video, you're showing all the steps and they're trying to doing it live. But that very moment where you show like that important piece of information for them, you're already too quick. So they have to scroll back again to rewatch that part. Like,
yeah. Thanks for breaking that down. I missed the one word, so I didn't understand what you meant. But yep, I totally see that now. So I don't want to get too far in the weeds, but I do love sharing information about tools. And there are tools out there that are kind of based on branching logic. And so you can have a chunk of video go and then stop, and the user can click next. So a simple branching logic can be, here's the explanation. Do you got it? Do you need more? And they can choose one. And then you can, oh, you need more? Well, let me explain it again in a different way. It stops. Do you got it now? Yes. Okay. And so you can kind of use branching logic with some of these tools that are out there to kind of take people on a journey and do it chunk by chunk instead of just one video that plays and they got to pause and back up and all that stuff. So there's probably other ways too that I would love to discuss sometime if you ever want to jump on a call and we could ideate around that. But that's one I know. There's a company called Video Ask. And again, I'm not one to just chase tools and go buy all the software because we got to be careful with that stuff. But they have branching logic as part of what they offer, and you can build, a video that's very much around like this tutorial's got 4 parts. I'm going to take you through slow, make sure you got everything you need before you click yes to the next one. So that might be one way to attack that. And then
What
the
was the
other,
name? Video Ask? Or?
Video Ask. Yep, I'm not sure of the.
Is it
domain.
from Typeform? Maybe it's like a
Yeah, that sounds
subproduct from
familiar. Yeah,
Typeform, right?
yeah.
Where you kind of have like you can communicate with the video and it will take you to different other videos.
Yeah. Yeah, and it does a bunch of things, right? It can just
Yeah.
live on your homepage and be like a welcome video, and if they want to know more, they can click through and respond to you and all kinds of fun stuff. But one of its main features is the branching logic, and there's some other companies too. I just don't have them in mind right now. But as video digitally has grown so much in the last 2-3 years, a lot of companies are like, "Oh man, we could use this for a lot of different things. What do we do?" So there's that for sure. And then earlier when I said lead with conflict, sometimes that's like a great stand-up comedian, right? They'll self-deprecate, they'll open a story loop and close it at the end. They're master storytellers, and a lot of time that self-deprecation is leading with conflict. I'm going to set the expectations for the crowd by making fun of myself first so you can't, or by stating something so you don't wonder about it. So sometimes, and I know this sounds simple and silly, but sometimes at the beginning of your video, just saying, hey, this is a tutorial. There's a lot of steps in here. Remember, it's okay to hit pause and back up and watch a section again. I'll still be here when you come back. Just saying things like that sometimes reminds people like, oh yeah, it is a video that I could just like rewind, and I won't have to feel overwhelmed because maybe the instructor's going too fast or something like that. So I think those are the first 2 things I think of for that.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Right. I'm picking up some questions from the chat. Krisa, I'm going to read it out loud, but if you wanna share it, feel free to also unmute and talk to us. But Krisa asks is, how do you feel the video has changed over the past decade when it comes to the quality and the content discussed? And an example that she gives is this pre and post pandemic, where pre-pandemic we were kind of like everything really polished on video, but through the pandemic, as we were confined and everyone kind of started sharing the bread that they were baking, we kind of got used to this, the messy and the realness of video. Have you picked any other changes, like trends that are moving in towards something else?
So something I've seen naturally happen because so many people have been having to do Zoom calls, work remotely, all these things, is that there's a big chunk of people who accidentally got comfortable on camera. They accidentally got to a place. And I don't mean that you're like, yes, here we go, hit record. I just mean we got to do it so much that it becomes normal. And they get better without realizing it. So I've been on a call with someone. They weren't quite ready to work with me. 6 months later, they follow up and they're like, hey, I put some things in place. I think I'm ready for video now. And I get on a call and 5 minutes in, I'm like, I just got to pause you for a second, let you know, like, you're a different person. You're presenting well. Like, this is really concise. Your energy is there. Like, I can tell you've been on camera for the last 6 months, even though it's just Zoom calls and remote work and the things that we've had to do. So I've noticed that change. The other thing that I think about the pandemic is that it feels like it changed a lot of things, and it did change things, right, for sure. But it feels like it changed a lot of things. But a lot of those things that I feel like it just kind of put a spotlight on, they already existed, It was just like hyper focused because of, the circumstances. And I think one of those kind of like happy accidents is that people realized that they liked the kind of quick, informational, doesn't have to be perfect and polished, as long as the content's good, as long as you're not wasting my time or just going live while you're at the grocery store shopping or whatever, like I think people again kind of accidentally figured out that it doesn't have to be perfect and that the content within is actually more important, which is the thing I'm always preaching. My sentence is help entrepreneurs look and sound good on camera. For a lot of people, that means camera, light, mic, look and sound good, which is accurate, but that's the small part. You remember that pie chart. The big part on my side is preparation, presentation, distribution. What are we making? How impactful is it? Where's it going? And do we have a strategy around it? And for me, that's look and sound good. So there's kind of two versions of look and sound good that exist simultaneously. And I feel like so many of us being on video, some of those things accidentally kind of came to the surface where it's like TikTok is huge and half of those videos are just a person with a smartphone talking and you're seeing part of their day. And there's no production, there's no fanciness. You might get some subtitles on the screen, but that's about it. So hopefully that kind of gives my viewpoint on that, because I think it's an exciting time to be doing the work I'm doing, because a lot of people have realized how great video can be and they want more. They want to utilize it better. They want to make more. They want to learn how to be consistent with video and work with a pro to help them get there. So pretty exciting.
I'm just going to link a question there to what Chris asked and what you're saying. Do you notice any influence from TikTok and now YouTube Shorts, and it feels like everything's short and everything's like in a blink of an eye, like really, really like snappy videos? And this links to Julia's question. Do you think long video or short video is easier to produce? I assume, Julia, right? Or like to create? So I wonder, are we going towards that direction now more and more?
I have a hot take on this one. And again, this is just one guy's opinion. I get asked a lot by my clients and members and students, what's better, short video because no one's got an attention span, or longer video. And I always say, if it's good, it doesn't matter. You can be in a specific genre of business where 10-minute videos are the norm and people want that. Maybe financial advising or something like that. People want the detail, they want the information, they want you to explain things. And then you could be in something like, I just help people build websites. And so I can make a TikTok that's like, here's a gorgeous website I built, and here's a little story about someone I helped and whatever. And it can be short because it's a discovery portal. Now, the hot take is, if I started an app, if I started a social media platform, and I gave all the algorithmic bonus to people who made videos 10 minutes and longer, and all of a sudden they can make a 10-minute video and get in front of 100,000 people where that was never possible for them before, all of a sudden the entire industry would say 10-minute videos, that's where it's at. So I think the fact that everyone's battling Instagram, YouTube, TikTok over attention, and they're giving us right now all of this like algorithmic push to bring us to their platform, which they'll eventually show us ads on. Everyone's like, short form, that's where it's at. I don't think it's because it's a short video or people's attention spans aren't there. I think it's because that's where everyone's playing and getting the most benefit right now. So that's my hot take. I'm not saying don't use short format. I personally don't use it, but that's not because I don't think you should. It's because it doesn't work for my audience, because my audience are entrepreneurs and they don't want like dancing and singing. They want someone who can tell them how to fix a problem fast. And that's my world. But you might do something cool like real estate and do little hot takes for 30 seconds every week, and people love that inside information. They can tell what you're talking about. Then they'll go to your website and check out more if they're interested. So you can definitely play there. But I don't think that we're just doomed to only get like 30-second videos for the rest of our lives. I just think that's where the attention's at right now. Yeah.
And one last question from Susie. Do you have a preferred website for repurposing? Clipscribe versus Slashero versus repurpose. So Susie already has a big toolkit there. What's your favorite then?
So the first thing I'm going to do is be completely transparent and say I have never heard of any of these. So
Woo-hoo,
I'm learning
go
something.
Susie.
And I would love to. I'll definitely grab this chat and check those out, and maybe make a post after I've done a little bit of digging in the Butter community. Right now, I use a platform called Tella.tv, where I can record videos and then turn them into other things later. Loom, a lot of people use Loom. You can upload a video that you did not record in Loom to Loom and edit it, so you can do small chunks. Descript is very popular. A lot of people are uploading their videos there to not only transcribe them but also edit them into smaller chunks and that sort of thing. I don't really, because I'm a professional editor, I don't really have a preference, because most of the time I'm just in my video editor creating my own short things from a bigger thing or repurposing content that way. But I know that's not everyone's world. So I'm interested to dive into these, find out more on my own, maybe give some feedback and some other recommendations in the community, because it's kind of what we're all after. We want to look and sound good. That's important. But once we get there, now the other currencies come into play: energy and time. I need to keep my energy for important things, and I don't have a lot of time. So yeah, we'll definitely discuss this more in the community. I think it's awesome.
Awesome. Susie, thanks so much for the recommendations. And
Yeah.
I have a question that is beating my tongue. Dan, I have to let this out before we go. What is a video guy doing producing a podcast? Like, enlighten us, please. Why
What
do
am
you
I
have
doing?
a podcast?
You know what? I had early on, I had been on a lot of them and just loved it, And when I was in a band, we got interviewed at radio stations all the time, stuff, as we were touring and all that. And I just always loved being asked questions, because I was always the one doing the work. So it was nice to be on the other side. And after being on a few podcasts, I was like, man, this is fun. And I know audio inside and out from my band days. So like, I think I could do this. And I started doing it, and it was kind of a hybrid of some shows were just me for 10 minutes, some were a guest. And then as I built my business, I'm like, oh, I'm seeing a lot of people are using their podcast for their business. So I kind of went in that direction, where I'm doing more interviews and that sort of thing. And then one day it really, really hit me, somewhere around episode 50. I kind of changed the format, and I'm like, I just want to bring on entrepreneurs. Being the Antipreneur show, the prerequisite is you're an entrepreneur and you're doing it your own way. And that was it. Come talk, let's have a good time. And what hit me like a ton of bricks was, oh, this is the place now where someone in my audience can get really great, helpful information. And it's not me talking, because everything I do, education, the cohort that's coming up, all the fun things, is me working directly with people. And the podcast is me asking a great question and getting out of the way and letting another expert give some information to my crowd. So that's why it continues to happen, is because it's my chance to just get out of the way. And it's fun.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Dan. Thanks everyone for the 5 minutes up your time. Thanks to Dan for sharing all your great tips. There's so much more to explore, but I'm so happy that you're in the Butter community. So this is, our opportunity to stalk you there and bombard you with our questions. Appreciate your time. Wish everyone else in the call a beautiful rest of your day, and I'll see you around, as we always do. And look at the camera. Remember to look into this lens. Take care, everyone. Bye.
Thanks.